Hello and welcome to this Beyond Shakespeare exploring session, where today we're looking at plays 7 and 8 from the Chester Mystery Cycle. Once again, these are texts that I have not read. I know nothing about them, but in the last exploring video that we did on the Chester Mystery Cycle, we were looking at play 6, which was all about the Nativity. So I'm assuming today in play 7, we're going to carry on and see what happens with that story next. If you don't know the plot already, there are going to be spoilers. To help me wade through these interesting medieval texts, I have this room of crack readers and commentators. And let me introduce them to you one by one. Reading Gabriel, that was yesterday's list. Reading Primus Pastor, first boy, and Primus Rex is...
Alan, going first for once.
Reading Secundus Pastor, second boy, and Secundus Rex is...
Lynn, I'm in California, USA today.
Oh, are you?
Reading Tertius Pastor, third boy, and Tertius Rex is...
Lois in London.
Reading Garcius and Explorater is...
Hi, America. I'm here with coffee.
Reading Angel Joseph, fourth boy, and Herod is...
I am Greg, and I'm slightly concerned about the number of dinosaurs in this play.
Indeed, yes. You've got everybody's hopes up now, and I have a feeling they're going to be sadly disappointed, but hey-ho, you never know. And I am your host today, Sarah Blake, and I will be reading Mary and Doctor also and the stage directions. And I am stepping in for Robert Crighton, who is away today, but he will be back in due course. So don't let me put you off. Okay, we start with play 7, which is the Painter's play. And I think, given the number of pastors that are in this, who are shepherds, I have a feeling we're doing that particular section of the Nativity story now, where the shepherds follow the star and turn up. But like looking at play 6, which was the one before this, we had all kinds of crazy plot diversions, frankly, and in terms of the story being about the birth of Christ, they kind of buried the lead in a whole diatribe about taxation. So we'll see what this play has to offer us, whether it goes off on the same strange path or whether it sticks to the story. We'll begin with Primus Pastor, who kicks us off.
On wolds have I walked wild, under busks my bower to build, from stiff storms my sheep to shield, my seemly wedders to save, from comely Conway unto Clyde, under better tilds them to hide, a better shepherd on no side, no earthly man may have. For with walking weary I have me wrought, beside the such my sheep I sought, my tight full tops are in my thought, them to save and heal. From the shrewd scab it sought, from the shrewd scab it sought, or if the rot, if it were wrought, if the cold had them caught, of it I could them heal. Lo, here be my herbs safe and sound, wisely wrought from every wound, they would a whole man bring to ground within a little while. Henbane and horehound, ribby, radish, and egamond, which be my herbs safe and sound, meddled on a row. Here be more herbs, I tell it yow, I shall reckon them on a row. Finter, Fanta, and Feta foe, also penny writ. This is all that I know, for it be wedder, or be it you, I shall heal then on a thraw, clean of their hurt. Here is tar in a pot, but to heal them from the rot. Well I can, and well I wot, the touch from then take. And if sworn it had their thirst, yet shall the touch be in my purse, and the sheep ne'er the worse, to run on the brake. But no fellowship here have I, save myself alone in good fay. Therefore, after one fast will I cry, but first will I drink if I may.
And he drinks.
How? Harow! how, how? Drive thy sheep to the lough. I may's not hear, but if I blow, as ever I have feel.
And we have a stage direction, hic flabit primus pasta. He blows. And I'm just going to stop us there to discuss this. I'm assuming it's a horn he's blowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
To get the other shepherds to
Get the other shepherds round, to get everybody round for a conflab. I
Yeah.
did like this first shepherd, though. Does anyone know what a talch or a talc is? Anyone know what that word is? I assume it's some kind of horrible sheep disease.
Hmm.
I think when I was involved with the reading of this several years ago, I think we realised that quite a lot of this is actually quite possibly local dialect to the
Right.
Chester area.
Right.
In the same way as you get the Cumbrian sheep counting method, which sounds like nothing else on earth. Yabba dabba taka touch, I think, of 3, 4, and 5.
Well, we know for certain it's not foot rot because he also talks about that in great detail. He can cure all the sheep things. Foot rot, cough, talch, whatever that is. He's really, scabs. He can heal it all with his herbs. He's a bit of a veterinary. I wonder if they're all going to turn out to be this concerned with their sheep, or whether he's just a particularly, he's the local healer. But anyway, he has a horn. I assume it's a sheep's horn. And Alan has just put a really terrible pun in the chat. I'm just going to have to ignore that. I'm sorry. He's blown his horn, so presumably we're gonna have the other shepherds turning up now. So let's go back to the text. The first shepherd has blown his horn, and shepherd number 2, please.
It is no shame for me to show how I was set for to sow with the feather of a crow, a clout upon my heel.
He sits down.
Fellow, now be well met, and though me think us needs us, had we tud here by us set, then might we sit and feed us.
Yea, to feed us friendly and fay, we have our service. Cry thou must loud by this day. Tud is deaf and may not well hear us.
And second shepherd calls in a low voice.
How, Tud, come for thy father's kin.
Nay, fie, thy voice is wondrous dim. I nurse thou not him. Fie, man, for shame. Call him, Tud, Tib's son. And then will the shrew come, for in good faith it is his one, to love well his dame's name.
How, Tud, Tib's son.
Ah, sir, in faith now I come. For yet have I not all done that I have to do, to seethe salve for our sheep, and lest my wife should it weet, with great gravel and greet I scour an old pan. Luck and harif, tech keep, with tarboist most been all tamed, pennegrass and butter for fat sheep. For this salve am I not ashamed. Ashamed am I not to show no point that longs to my craft. No better that I well know in land is nowhere laughed. For, good men, this is not unknown to husbands that bane hereabout, that each man must to his wife bone, and commonly for fear of a clout. Thus, for clouts, now care I, all is for fear of our dame kin. Now will I cast my ware hereby, and high fast that I were at Hankin. Hankin, hold up thy hand, and have me that I were on height there by thee.
Gladly, sir, and thou would be by me, for loath me is to deny thee.
Now, since God hath gathered us together with good heart, I thank him of his grace. Welcome be thou, well fair weather. Tut, will you shape us to some solace?
Yea, solace would best be seen, that we shape us to our supper, for meat and drink well I deem to each deed is most dear.
Lay forth each man, I'll each what he hath left of his livery. I will put first my pitch, with my part first of all us three.
And such store as my wife had in your sight, soon shall you see, at our beginning us to glad, for in good meat there is much glee. Here's bread this day was bacon, onions, garlic, and leeks, butter that bought was in blackcurrant, and green cheese that will grease well your cheeks.
And here ale of Halton I have, and what meat I had to my here, a pudding may no man deprave, and a lannock of Lancastershire. Lo, here a sheep's head soused in ale, and a groin to lay on the green, and sour milk my wife had on sale, a noble supper as well is seen.
And it is well seen, ye shall see. And what somewhat I have in my sack, a pig's foot I have here, pardie, and a panch clout in my pack. A womb clout, fellows, now have I, a liver, as it is no lack, a chittling boilage shall be, this burthen I bear on my back. Now will I cast off my cloak, and pull out part of my livery, pull out that I have in my poke, and a pig's foot from Pudding's-perry.
Abide, fellows, and ye shall see here thus hot meat we shall it hend, gambons and other good meat in fear, a pudding with a prick in the end.
And that is in my satchel to shake out. To shepherds am I not ashamed. This ox tongue pared round about, for your tooth it shall be attained.
And they eat.
Yum, chomp, chomp, chomp.
Bid me do gladly, and I thee, for surely here is good grousing. Come eat with us, God of heaven high, and take no heed, though here be no housing.
Housing enough have we here, while we have heaven over our heads? Now to eat our mouths time it were. This flagon will I tame, if thou read us.
And of this bottle now will I bibble, for here is but of the best. Such liquor makes men to live. This game may no way be lost.
Fellows, now our bellies be full, think we on him that keeps our flocks. Blow thy horn and call after Trowel. Bid him some of our bite-locks.
Well said, Hankin, by my sooth, for that shrew I suppose us seeks. My horn to beal I will not less, till that lad have some of our leeks.
Leeks to his livery is your liking, such a lad nowhere in land is. Blow a note for that meeting, while that horn now in thy hand is.
With this horn I shall make a howl, that he and all heaven shall hear. Yonder lad that sits on the lough, that out of this horn shall hear.
And they sing. Oh, we don't know what, but instead of singing, we're going to pause and discuss what we've just read. So, yeah, anyone else feeling slightly nauseous? There was a lot of pig fat in there, and sour milk and all sorts of goodies.
That was really weird. Sour milk my wife had on sale. That sounds like some, oh boy, there was this, 50p off the sour milk.
Yeah. Could have been buttermilk, maybe, I guess, something. I mean, buttermilk's quite sour, isn't it? Quite sour tasting, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Alan and then Eric.
Yeah, call it yogurt and you've got to mark it.
Yeah, indeed. Yes. Eric, was it you? Yes, it was you.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's something like kefir or something where you've got like sort of basically curdled milk, but like
Yeah.
it actually tastes good. There is so much food in this. It's like leeks and like cheese and don't know.
My
Just
favorite things.
yeah.
And a chitterling boiled, but whatever that is, I don't know, and I don't want to know. But
Filling, it's some sort of innards.
yeah, and lots of different bits of pig. They don't mention lamb, which under the circumstances is probably, diplomatic, given that they're probably surrounded by sheep. Yeah. So, and third pastor turns up. When he turns up, he seems to be a bit of a veterinary as well. He's also before they get sidetracked with all the food. He also seems to be quite into his healing. Second shepherd, not so much.
No, he doesn't.
But they do seem to have individual characters, these three, don't they? They do seem to be, it's not just a question of, I am shepherd 1, I am shepherd 2, I am shepherd 3.
Yeah.
They do seem to have a degree of characterization.
I took it that shepherd 3 must be older because they say he's deaf. I mean, that doesn't necessarily follow, but so that's what I'm playing him as.
Yeah, you've got to yell his name really loud for him to hear.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of food. Where did they get all this food from? Like,
my wife packed me a lunch.
Yeah.
It's like, how big was the hamper? Like, it's just like, imagine spent double with this thing on his back. Maybe he's got it on the back of his sheep or something. I don't know. This is all getting very silly now. But there's just a lot of relish of the food, and I'm thinking about how that would have been staged. Would they have? I mean, this is the painters. Like, if this was the grocers, I could understand it more. But this is the painters' play. So
Or a baker or something. But
Lois.
Yeah, well, something I wondered about was because the third shepherd asks them to give him a hand so he can get up where they are, which suggests again that does he come on ground level and do they haul him onto the wagon or something? I mean, are they all sitting with their legs dangling over the edge of it, or is there some sort of rock or something they're sitting on?
Yeah, I like the idea of them like dangling their legs over the edge of the wagon. Eric,
this isn't like a big point, but I was wondering if like the whole sour milk line was just like an insult about his wife, like she's because she's got a face like sour milk or whatever, that kind of thing. I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah, but also I was also struck by how the rhyme is not the same as the one we had yesterday. Well, before, maybe not. Where you have sort of, it's not as intense as sort of the other one.
Yes, I mean it's strong, but no, not yesterday. If you were watching this video, we recorded play 6 yesterday, but who knows where it is in the YouTube universe. So if you look at the play 6 video, the rhyme there is really strong, and completely drives the whole thing. And this is rhyming, but it's nothing more unusual than we're perhaps used to expecting with these plays. Alan.
Yeah, but there's still the addiction to alliteration.
Yes.
Which, because there's some real tongue twisters in there.
Yeah, you had one particular line that I am going to add to my my list of early modern tongue twisters. I can't quite find it now. It was the scabby line, I think, but it was tough. Yeah.
New teeth, please.
Yes, indeed. Right. If no one's got anything else to add, let's move on. So when the shepherds have finished singing, we have the entrance of Garcius.
Good Lord, look on me and my flock here as thee would have. On this wood walk we are not. On this wood walk we are no men here that me would have. All is plain for thee, therefore sheep mon we could have. No better than these be a beast blood and bone have. What I not day or night necessaries that to me needed, you shall soon see in sight of small hands that to me needed. Tarboist, tarboil, and kept a nettle, hemlock and butter abiding, and my good dog, Dottinol. great name, that is nothing choice of his chiding. If any man come me by and would wit which way best were, my leg I lift up where I lie, and wish him the way by east and west where. And I rose where I lay, me would think that travail lost were. For king nor duke by this day rise, I will not, but take my rest here. Now will I sit here down and pipe at this pot like a pope. Would God that I were down harmless as I hastily hope. Old men, learn mon this Golgotha, this Golgotha grimly to grope. No man here drink mon save myself, the devil of the soap. All thy lates I set at a little. Nay, you lads, keep I not to lie thee. For you have I many a foul fit. Thou foul filth, though thou flit. I can't read. I defy thee.
Growl, take tend to my talking, for thy teeth here is a good tugging, while thy wedders be walking. On this loin thou must have good lucking.
Fly on your loins and your livers and longs, your sauce, your loss, and your savory. You're sitting without any songs. On this hill I hold me here, no hap to your hot meat have I, but flight with my fellows in fear, and your sheep full sickerly save I.
For thou that saves our sheep, good knaves, take and keep, sith thou may not sleep. Come, eat of this sauce.
Nay, the dirt is so deep, stopped herein for it to steep, and the grubs thereon do creep at home at thy house. Therefore meat, if I may, of your diting today, will I not by no way till I have my wages. I wender this to have been gay. See, so ragged is my array. I pinches his ear pay to every poor page.
Oh, trowel, boy, for God's pity, come eat a morsel with me, and then wrestle will we here on this wold.
That will I never flee, though it were with you all three to lay my liberty, that will I hold.
And we have a stage direction here in Latin, which I do not understand and cannot pronounce. Yes, you go for it, Lois.
Yeah, then he goes to his masters and says.
Ah, very good, thank you.
Oh.
Now comes Trowel the true turn to take have I tried with my masters or I rue, put him forth that most is of might.
Growl, better thou never thou knew. Eat of this meat for a night.
I will, though I spew. Nay, spare I will, though I spew. All your heads show it. All upon your heads show it light.
How should we suffer this shame of a show thus to be shent?
This lad list to be lame and lose a limb or he went.
Have done, begin we this game, but where lest your gullions glent that were little dull to your dame, though in the midst of D you were drenched.
False lad, fie on thy face. On this ground thou shalt have a fall. End on and hold that thou hast. If thou have all, have it go. Have it all go to all.
And here, sirs, to do you solace. Hankin shepherd, shame thee I shall. Both though thou art worse than thou wast, where lest thou walt here by the wall.
We have a stage direction here that says then throws, which I assume is referring to Garcius throwing up. But
No, I think
Wrestling.
it's the wrestling. He throws him down.
he throws him down.
That's the boy is beating all these older shepherds.
He's right. Okay, I was very confused there. Oh, that's kind of sad. I was thinking he was maybe throwing up. But anyway, we carry on with second pastor.
Boy, lest I break thy bones, kneel down and ask me a boon, lest I destroy thee here on these stones. Cease lest I shed thee too soon.
Gold that so grins and groans, good were thee, thy old rags to have safe soon. Little doubt of such drones, lither tyke for thy deeds are done.
Oh, to lass, he lies on his loins. Let now go to that lad. Shepherds he shames and shens, for last now am I outshad.
Both your backs here to me binds, for all your boast I hold you but bad. Hold your arses and your hinderloins, then hope I'd have as I ere had. A veteran the bore as I had before of this Bosiart. Yea, hope I more, keep well thy score for fear of the part.
And we have another stage direction, then throws the third. So that's presumably he's throwing the third shepherd to the ground.
Lie there lither in the lake, my liberty now will I latch, this cup, this clout, and this cake. For ye be cost now will I catch. To the devil I all you betake as traitorous taint of your tatch. On this wood with this will I walk, on all the world wonder on the watch.
Fellows, this a foul case is, that we've been cast of a knave, all against our will. He has his, but I must needs hold the harms that I have.
Is that me? Because I'm lost.
That's you. Yes. Second pastor that I have needs must I hold.
Okay. It says, okay, that's earlier.
That I have needs must I hold
Said that
of these unhappy harms of terror.
that I must needs must I hold?
Yeah.
Okay. That I have needs must I hold of these unhappy harms, oft hear I, therefore will I wait on this wold upon the weather, for I am weary.
Though we be weary, no wonder, what between wrestling and waking, oft we may be in thought, now we be under, God amend it with his making.
And at this point, they sit and see a star. But before we come on to the star, let's just stop and mull over what we've just read, because I clearly got very confused about what was going on. Can someone explain to me, like, why they were fighting?
Well, I think, doesn't third shepherd say at one point, we'll have some wrestling later, come join us and have some food, and then we'll wrestle.
Okay. Okay. So it's not like
But then it seems to take an angry turn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he beats one after the other, so of course they're pretty fed up. I mean, he's their servant.
Yeah. Okay. So they're just cross that he's better than they are. Okay. Eric, did you have your hand up? And then I'll go to Alan.
Yeah, I was going to say that he wants an increase. He wants an increase in his wages. They pay him peanuts.
Oh, right.
So he's like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to do bugger all. And then they basically sort of challenge him to wrestling match.
Right.
As
okay.
you do.
So, yeah. So okay. So it's we're back to money and not having enough money, which is where we were in place 6. Alan, you had something to say.
Yeah, it's a labour dispute. Basically, this poor lad is doing all the work, and the 3 old boys are sitting there having a party. I mean, the fact that all of this is completely non-canonical, but it's setting up an absolutely beautiful scene. I mean, you can visualize it. I mean, you could almost redo this as Last of the Summer Wine.
Mm-hmm.
You could see those 3 very much as that type of character, couldn't
you? It does make me wonder how this looked when it was staged, like, because presumably they mocked out the wrestling, which I assume was pretty much like wrestling is today, very, very choreographed, very staged, people being thrown to the ground so the audience could go, oh, ah. But it's quite a weird spectacle, isn't it? Like this young guy throwing all these old blokes to the ground. It's just I don't know, it strikes me as being a bit peculiar, but that's me coming at it with a modern sensibility. No doubt it was hilarious to the original spectators. Lois, did I see a hand there?
The whole thing, I mean, I'm finding it very difficult. It's an annotator's dream, I would imagine. You have to know an awful lot to explain all this vocabulary, but Yeah, I mean, they all go on about this fabulous food they've got, and then the boy comes along and says it's all worm eaten, and I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, and so on, and insults them about everything. And I don't know which is right, whether all their food is really terrible, and they're just bragging about it, or whether it's perfectly good and he's just being insulting.
Well, it does strike me that when they're bragging about the food earlier on, maybe it's a bit like you get in some modern day pantos where they're like, oh, look at this lovely feast, and they pull out one thing, oh, look at this gorgeous cheese, and they pull it out the bag and it's horrible and green and wormy, and oh, look at this fabulous string of sausages, and they pull the sausages out and they've all got bites, chunks taken out of them, and they're all kind of green as well. I wonder if it's that kind of play going on there. I don't know, but either way, it's kind of fun. These shepherds are having a riot. Eric,
I have to say, at the beginning, he didn't rhyme as much, so I was a bit lost. I was waiting for it to keep going, like sort of, rhyme, but then it just kind of didn't. And then he slips into rhyme when he starts addressing them, because at the beginning he's like, I'm not bothered to get up, I'm just gonna lie here. Enjoy my time, which you can kind of visualize. I was actually wondering if those lines were sung rather than spoken, because if you add them to a melody, it might help them along.
Yeah, you could be right. Good call. He didn't rhyme so much, but my goodness, Garcius likes his alliteration. I felt quite sorry for you then, having to stumble through those lines, because he was really going for it. Yeah, we were talking earlier about how play 6 was driven by the rhyme. That particular section when Garcius first came on just seemed to be absolutely driven by the alliteration. But it seems to have eased up now slightly, which is probably a relief for everyone. Anyone else got anything else to add? Yes, Greg.
No, it's two things. It makes me interested in what the writing scheme was for these things. Who wrote them, and was it different? Was it people from the guilds, or was it? Did they hire some poor bugger, or did they hire a variety of poor buggers to write these? Because there is an element of, it feels like there's two different hands here. From the play 6 to play whatever this whatever numbering system we're in. Also, I was just really interested. I can't remember which cycle it is that it falls in, but Mac. You always get a sort of, the shepherds always have a bit of a. There's always something extra happening with the shepherds in these plays, and this is just a really nice. Instead of a sheep stealer, you've just got a fight scene. It's just interesting to see how it all fits together. Yeah. No.
Yeah. We've got a wormy picnic followed by a fight. It's definitely different to play 6. I mean, we were talking in the play 6 commentary. Alan was saying about how there are usually these things get written over a period of time. People add stuff, people take stuff away. So you've not got one playwright. It's like it's the work of many hands. But although I did feel that quite a lot of the weirdness in play 6, the other day was probably the work of one hand. But we'll never know. But yeah, this has got a very different tone. And yeah, it's coming from a different company. We've got painters rather than wrights. Lois, you had your hand up.
Oh, well, I was going to say that Mac is in the Wakefield Shepherd's play, which is the one most people know best. I can see why. I mean, this is actually quite entertaining, but it would be kind of difficult to get across, I think. And also, I would take it that whoever is playing Garcius, the boy, is actually quite a good wrestler, and that's part of the attraction of this play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it could be quite a spectacle, a strange spectacle, as I said, with this young boy like throwing all these old men to the ground. But you can imagine it being choreographed and sort of played out. I don't know. It could be quite striking. Greg.
No, it's just a total sort of I don't think this is ever dramatised in the mysteries, but I'm just thinking David and Goliath overthrowing the small overthrowing the strong.
Mm.
That sort of element of echoes forwards and echoes backwards.
Mm.
Anyway, yeah, no, it's just I don't think it's staged ever. It's just made me think of that interesting.
That's actually very,
Yes, Alan, I agree. It could just be something to keep the girls entertained.
well, it could actually be all, it could all tie together. I mean, the boy defeating these, they're not necessarily all old men. I just think it's the third one who is, but given that the Annunciation is he hath put down the mighty from their seats and exalted the humble, and that's sort of, and then the fact that the shepherds are going to be given the news anyway and allowed to see the birth of Christ. I mean, the whole thing, it could all be part of the same idea.
Yes, could be. It's a good point. But we need to return to the text now.
And I think the next lines, incidentally, in the text are spoken by the first shepherd, not by me.
Ah, okay.
As you can see, they speak in order, and I.
Yes, that's a good point. Okay, Alan, do you want to take those lines then? So, to return the shepherds, they have had their fight. They've sat down, have a bit of a rest, and they see a star.
What is all this light here? That shyness so bright here on my black beard. But to see this sight here, a man may be affright here. I am afeared.
Afeared for affray now may we all be now. Ah, yet it is night, yet seems it day now. Never soothly to say now, see I such a light.
Such a sight seeming, and a light gleaming, lets me for to look. All to my deeming, from a star streaming, it to me strook.
That star, if it's done to seek, will I find, though my sight fail. While I may live in land, why should I stand if it will avail? God's might it is in yonder starlight is of the sun, this sight is as now it seems.
Seems as now I see a bright star for to be there to abide. From it we may not flee, but I glow on the glee till down it glide.
I'm guessing that this is actually second pastor rather than.
I think so. Yeah.
Fellows, will we kneel down on our knee after comfort to the true Trinity, for the lead us to see our elders, Lord.
Our Lord will us lair in our prayer, whereto it will append, and why on height here the air is so clear, now shall we be kent.
Lord of this light, send us some sight why that it is sent. Before this night was I never so affright of the firmament.
Nor I by my fay, now is it night day, so was it never. Therefore I pray thee sooth us to say, or what we dissever.
Then an angel sings, Gloria in excelsis Deo et in terra pax hominibus boni voluntatis. Glory be to God in the highest, and on earth peace to man of good will.
Fellows in fear, may ye not hear this muting on high.
In glory and in glare, yet no man was near within our sight.
Nay, it was a glory. Now am I sorry without more song.
Of this strange story, such mirth more I would have among.
As I then deemed, Celsit it seemed that he sang so.
While the light leamed, a reeking we weened, I wist never who.
What song was this, say ye, that he sang to us all three? Expounded shall it be, or we heathen pass. For I am eldest of degree, and also best, as seems me. It was glorum glarum with a glee. It was neither more nor less.
Nay, it was glory, glory, glorious. Methought that note went over the house. A seemly man he was, and curious, but soon away he was.
Nay, it was glorum glarum with a glow, and much of Celsius was there too, as ever have I rest or row. Much he spake of glass.
Nay, it was neither glass nor glee. Therefore, fellow, now stand by.
By my faith, he was some spy, our sheep for to steal, or else he was a man of our craft, for seemly he was, and wondrous deft.
Nay, he came by night, all things left, our tups with tar to tail.
Nay, on a glaw and on glare and a glee, good Gabriel, when he so glored, when he sang, I might not be sorry, but though through my breastbone blotting he bored.
Nay, by God, it was a Gloria, said Gabriel when he said so. He had a much better voice than had I, as in heaven all others have so.
Will you hear how he sang Celsus? For on that sadly he set him neither sing Sar, nor so well Cis, nor Pax, Mary Maud, when she had met him.
One time he touched on tar, and thereto I took good intent. Oh, heaven might not have gone harb, the note on high when he uphent.
After Pax or a piece, up as a pie he piped, and such a laden, this is no lass, never in my life me so liked.
Upon hominibus he muted, that much marvel to me was, and I quote when he so shooted, I durst not head where that it was.
Yet he sang more than all this, for some word is worthy a forder. For he sang Bone voluntatis, that is a crop that passed all other.
Yet he sang more too from my mind, it shall not start. He sang also the Deo, methought that healed my heart. And that word terra he tamed, thereto I took good intent, and Pax also he may not be blamed for that to the song I sent.
Now pray we to him with good intent, and sing I will and me unbrace, that he will het us to be kent, and to send us of his grace.
Now since I have all my will, never in this world so well I was. Sing we now, I read us shrill, a merry song to us solace.
Now sing on, let us see some song will I say. Oh, men now sing after me, for music of me learn ye may.
And here they sing Trolly Lolly Lolly Loo, and there's some Latin, which if you could translate for us, Lois.
Well, actually, it says, then they sang, and after that, the third shepherd said, now,
Right, yes, carry on.
now wend we forth to Bethlehem, that is best our song to be, for to see the star gleam, the fruit also of that maiden free.
Now follow we the star that shines, till we come to that holy stable. To Bethlehem bend we our lines. Follow we it, without any fable.
Follow we it that hideth full fast. Such a friend loth were us to fail. Launch on, I will not be last, upon Mary for to marvel.
They go to Bethlehem. Before they get there, we'll just pause to take in that last section. It just strikes me that this could be absolutely hilarious. You know, all this quarreling about what did he say? What did he say? No, he didn't. No, he didn't say that. Yeah, it's like what? No, he didn't say that. I love this take on the shepherds. It's this is very different to the story that was told in my school nativity plays. And I think there's room here really for all four of them to be kind of comic stars in this particular play. I think this could be the one that the audience look forward to and make sure that they're in the front of the crowd for, because it has the capacity to be really, really funny. What is everyone else's thoughts? Greg?
I'm just going to say, again, it's like yesterday. It's like, if it's like, when's the bloody angel going to turn up?
Yeah.
Or at least going to say something? Because I mean, I've had a bit of la-di-da singing, but I'm literally sat here going, have I missed my cue?
It's true. Well, yeah, I mean, yes, he did turn up and sing, and no doubt that was all very splendid. But yeah, he didn't stick around, which is obviously the cause of all the quarreling, and the comic ensuing. Lois.
Yeah, I'm also wondering exactly what he sang, apart from, I mean, the bits that they quote, because he must have also told them what they're supposed to see in Bethlehem, because they seem to know.
Yeah. One of them mentioned Mary, didn't they?
Yeah,
so he must have
and
said
it wasn't
something.
in the text given here. So I don't know where they got this. I also can't quite make out whether they do or don't understand any of the Latin. I mean, because to remember a whole phrase in it suggests that one understands it, and yet just the odd bits of it that they say suggest just somebody who picked up a syllable here and a syllable there and is trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, I don't know that we should inquire too deeply into the rationale behind that. It's a good point, but Lynn.
Maybe making sense of it is kind of a fool's errand. I mean, because we don't have any evidence in the text that the angel mentions unto thee is born this day a savior, and in the city of Bethlehem there's nothing in the text that says the angel says that. And then they say we're going to Bethlehem. Did the angel say something that's just not recorded? And one of them mentions the Trinity. I mean, Jesus has just been born. What? Maybe we're not supposed to.
Maybe the angel's song was more of an exposition than is implied here. Greg. Sorry, Lynn, did you have something else to say?
Or maybe not. Maybe it's just in the story, the next thing they do is they go to they just know.
Everyone knows they're going to Bethlehem, so they just say it. Greg.
Only a theological point that the Holy Trinity does it, though it's more explicit in the New Testament, it is sort of referenced through the whole lot. So it's because anyway. But yes, there you go. It is weird, because I remember when I read one of these before, I went off and I spoke to my other half and said, we had this weird conversation about preempting of Holy Trinities in the Old Testament plays. And he said, oh no, that one still, then he understood it. I just had this wonderful vision of this being the local WI or the local choir doing this. Vague notions of what they're saying, but not really.
Yeah, and then lots of squabbling about it. I know what you mean. There is a definite kind of local village fete vibe going on here, which is just really quite fun. Alan.
Yeah, the moving away from the theological point as a dramatic point, I suspect that those exchanges between the three shepherds and the lad, if it was run by people who'd actually got their heads around the script, it would work as very fast, almost double talk, with one line really crashing on top of another, which would make the rhythm very, very compelling indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And very funny. Eric, and then we must move on.
Well, yeah, also there's like cross rhyming where you've got like Kent and firmament and all that stuff, but also you've got I don't know what the term is. And as a poet, as someone who writes poetry and reads poetry, I should know this, but I can't remember the term, where you've got like the end of a line that starts that is repeated in the next line, but then different,
where the end of the line and the end of the sentence or phrase are not aligned, right? When you're you're thinking of Jammin.
One runs into another. Yeah.
No, it's like one of them went, it seems it is good or whatever. And then the next shepherd started with, it seems it is good. It seems good, but we should do this. Sort of expanding on that argument, which gives it a natural like evolution of it.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. That whole section was really quite complex, and absolutely, I think it was designed to be. Well, also the rhythm changed as soon as the star turned up. The rhythm, the meter suddenly became a lot shorter. The pace picked up. There was a lot of excitement, kind of embodied in the meter. There's been lots of changes. It's quite complex, and the characterization is quite complex as well, I think, for a mystery play. We now, I mean, I said earlier that we had a sense of who these people were. I think we now have quite a clear sense of who these guys are. Anyway, they have gone to Bethlehem with or without their sheep. I don't know. But the third pastor is the first one to speak.
Stint now, go no more steps, for now the star begins to stand hereby. That good being our haps, we see by this our Saviour is found.
And we have a stage direction. Finally, Greg, your moment has come. The angel appears.
Shepherds of this sight, be ye not affright, for this is God's might takes this in mind. To Bethlehem go now right, there ye shall see in sight that Christ is born tonight, to Kiva all mankind.
To Bethlehem take we the way, for with you I think to wind that Prince of Peace for to pray, heaven to have at our end. And sing we all, I read, some mirth to his majesty, for certain now see we it indeed. The King's Son of Heaven is he.
Sim securely, here I see Mary and Jesus Christ fast by, lapped in hay.
Kneel we down in hay, and pray we him of mercy, and welcome him worthily, that woe does away.
Away all our woe is, and many man's moe is. Christ, Lord, let us kiss the crack or the close. The creche.
Solace now to see this builds in my breast bliss. Never after to do amiss, thing that him lo this.
This old man that here is, take heed how his head is hoar, his beard like a busk of briars, with a pound of hair about his mouth and more.
More is the marvel to me now, for to nap greatly him needs. Heartless is he now, for I to his heel he heeds.
Why, with his beard, though it be rough, right well to her he heeds. Worthy white wit would we now, will ye warn us, worthy in weeds?
Shepherds, soothly I see that my son you hither sent, through God's might in majesty, that in me light and here is lent. This man married was to me, for no sin in such assent, but to keep my virginity, and truly in none other intent.
Good men, Moses take in mind, as he was made through God Almighty, ordained laws as to bind, which that we should keep of right, man and woman for to bind, lawfully them both delight, so fructify as men may find, that time was wedded every wight. Therefore wedded to her I was, as law would, her for to lay, for noise, nor slander, nor trespass, and through that deed the devil to dare, as told me Gabriel, full of grace. When I had trusted all my gate, I fled, and never to see her face. By him I was arrested there. For he said to me, sleeping, that she lackless was of sin. And when I heard that tokening, from her durst I no way twin. Therefore goes, preach forth this thing all together, and not in twin, that you have seen your heavenly King, common to all mankind to win.
Great God, sitting in thy throne, that made all things of naught, now we may thank thee, each one. This is he that we have sought.
Go we near anon with such as we have brought, ring, brush, or precious stone. Let's see whether we have aught to proffer.
Let us do him homage.
Who shall go first? The page?
Nay, you be father of age, therefore must you go first offer.
Hail, King of heaven, so high, born in a crib, mankind unto thee thou hast made full sieve. Hail, King, born in a maiden's bower, prophets did tell thou should be our succor. His clerks do say, lo, I bring thee a bell. Pray thee, save me from hell, so that I may with thee dwell, and farewell for aye.
Hail thee, Emperor of hell and of heaven also. The fiend thou shalt fell that ever hath been false. Hail the maker of the star that us beforn. Hail the blessful bairn. I bring thee a flacket, and thereat hangs a spoon to eat thy pottage withal. At none, as myself full oft have done. With heart, I pray thee take it.
Hail, Prince withouten peer, that mankind shall relieve. Hail thee, foe unto Lucifer, the witch beguiled Eve. Hail, granter of hap, in earth now thou dwells. Lo, son, I bring thee a cap, for I have nothing else. This gift I give thee is but small, and though I came hindermost of all, when thou shalt men to thy bliss call, good Lord, yet think on me.
My dear, with jewelry unto thee I me dress, my float on fellowship that I do not lose, and to save me from all ill sickness, I offer unto thee a pair of my wife's old hose. For other jewels, my son, I have none for to give, that is worth anything at all, but my good heart while I live, and my prayers till death do me call.
And I'm just going to pause there momentarily to say that if you're following along at home, watching the video on YouTube, all the shepherds are now going to mysteriously transform into boys because there's no stage direction to say that they come in, but we've now got first, second, and third boy, and I think fourth boy coming in as well. As I've stopped, does anyone have anything to say about these wonderful gifts that have been presented to the baby Jesus? He's got a bell, he's got a flacket, which I think is a bowl with a spoon, he's got a cap, and he's got a pair of old socks. So sounds like a great Christmas. Anyone want to add anything, or shall we press on?
Yeah, batteries not included.
Yeah, indeed. Lynn, then Eric.
Funny that's or absurd that's supposed to be. I mean, they're poor shepherds, they have nothing. So they're giving what they can, and maybe that's the point.
Yeah,
it's not the value of the gift in absolute terms, it's the value of the gift in relative terms that matters.
Yeah, and the emotion with which it is given. Yeah. Eric, and then we must move on.
Yeah, it's just the wife's old hose is just to save me from all ill sickness. It's like, why would you? Anyway, yeah, like I get you would. Yeah, wash them first, man. Wash them.
Yeah, there's something a bit transactional about it. There was another one as well. It was like the bell. It was like, okay, I'm giving you this bell. Please save me from hell. It is quite transactional, this whole thing. But I do like Lynn's interpretation as well, that it's all about the intent. Lois.
Yeah, well, I was noticing that Alan asks in the chat whether those two gifts should be transposed. It does seem odd because if Garcius is a boy, has he really got a wife? I mean, with a pair of old hose, that could be the third shepherd who is the one who's talked about his wife. But
yes, and the cap belonged to the boy. Yeah, that would make more sense. Lynn, I saw your hand had gone up again, but just quickly, and then we must move on.
Yeah, I mean, there is something transactional about medieval Catholicism. You do the penance and you get out of the punishment for that sin. So that's not the transactional nature of this.
Yeah. This is
consistent with the theology.
This is something that would be familiar to the audience, probably. Yes, true. Good point. Right, okay, so we'll press on to the end, and yes, just be aware that all the shepherds have now turned into boys. Take it away, first boy.
Now you, my fellows, this do I say, for this in this place before I wend away, unto yonder child let us go pray, as our masters have done us before.
And of such goods as we have here, let us offer to this prince so dear, and to his mother, that maiden clear, that of her body has him born.
Abide, sirs, I will go first to yonder king.
And I will go next to that lording.
Then will I be the last of this offering, This can I say no more.
Now, Lord, for to give thee, I have nothing, neither gold, silver, brooch, no ring, nor no rich robes meet for a king that I have here in store. But though it lack a stopple, take thee here my welfare bottle, for it will hold a good pottle. In faith I can give thee no more.
Lord, I know that thou art of a virgin born, in full poor array, sitting on her arm. For to offer to thee I have no scorn, although thou be but a child. For jewel I have none to give thee to maintain thy royal dignity, but my hood take it thee, as thou art God and man.
O noble child of thy Father on high, alas, what have I for to give thee, save only my pipe that soundeth so royally? Else truly have I nothing at all. Were I in the rock or in the valley alow, I could make this pipe sound, I trow, that all the world should ring and quaver as it would fall.
Now, child, although thou be common from God, and be God thyself in thy manhood, yet I know that in thy childhood thou wilt for sweetmeat look. To pull down apples, pears, and plums, old Joseph shall not need to hurt his thumbs, because thou hast not plenty of crumbs. I give thee here my nut hook.
Now farewell, mother, and may, for of sin naught thou wottest. Thou hast brought forth this day God's Son, of might most. Wherefore men shall say, blessed in every coast and place, be thou memorial for me and for us all, and that we may from sin fall, and stand ever in thy grace. Our Lord God be with thee.
And I'm just going to leap in there to say the boys have done their bit and gone off. And so now the readers have all gone back to playing the shepherds that they were playing originally.
Brethren, let us all three singing walk homewardly. Unkind will I never in no case be, but preach all that I can, and cry, as Gabriel taught us, by his grace me, singing away, hit heaven will I.
Over the sea, and I may have grace, I will gang and about go now, to preach this thing in every place, and sheep will I keep no more now.
And my script is misbehaving. Please hold.
We're waiting for Garcius to return to the room.
I read we us agree for our misdeeds amends to make. For so now will I to the child holy will I me betake forever secretly. Shepherd's craft here I forsake, and to an anchor hereby I will in my prayers watch and wake.
I am hermit, to praise God, to pray, to walk by sty and by street, in wilderness to walk for aye, and I shall no man meet. But for my living I will him pray, barefoot on my feet, and thus will I live ever and aye. For I, Everons, this world I fully refuse, my miss for to amend with moans, turn to thy fellows and kiss. I yield, for in youth we have been fellows iwis, therefore lend me your mouth, and friendly let us kiss.
From London to Louth, under such shepherd, I wot not where is, both friend and couse. God give you all his bliss.
To that bliss bring us, great God, if it be thy will. Amend all things that be amiss. Good men, now fares well ye.
Well for to fare each friend, God of his might grant you, for here now we make an end. Farewell, for we from you go now.
And that's the end of the painter's play. I reckon that was a bit of a hit with the audience. I'm interested by these boys who suddenly appear from nowhere. Yeah, I mean, have they been there on the wagon all this time, just like hanging around in the background, or do they suddenly appear? Is it somebody's kids that have just been Ushered in. What do people think of that overall? Lois?
Well, I wonder whether version 1 had Garcio and version 2 had a servant for each of the three shepherds, and somehow they've gotten muddled up.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, it's a good thought. Lynn?
Something for the painter's apprentices to come on and do. I mean, it does sort of ratchet up the sentimentality, and I don't mean that with a negative connotation. I mean, there's definitely a strong little drummer boy vibe going on here, right? That the poor people are giving what they can. Like, this is something that's valuable to me, and this amazing thing that I can't even quite get my head around is happening, and I know I have to do something. So here's my pipe, and here's my hat, and and that's interesting. It's something that little children will do when they really want to gain favor with an adult. They'll like try to give that adult their favorite toy. Like toddlers will do this. So I mean, there's something very touching about this.
Very touching and very well observed as well. Actually, as we were reading it, I was thinking, oh, I'm now having thoughts about the little drummer boy that I've never had before, because he doesn't actually give away his drum. He plays it, but he doesn't actually hand it over. And I'm like, yeah, seeing him in a whole new light now. Anyone else got anything to add before we move on?
Another interesting feature of this is that evidently all four of the shepherds, assuming Garcius is a shepherd, go on. They're going to give up their previous vocation and become evangelists, and I don't think that's scriptural. But that's an interesting. He's like, yep, that's not. Like, oh, this thing has happened, and I'm going to go tell the world that the Savior has come.
Yeah, I wonder if at the end they leap off their wagon and go in among the audience. Maybe they do. That would be quite a nice finale. No, it's definitely not scriptural. But as we've discovered, looking at these mystery plays in the past, there's quite a lot that isn't scriptural. But it's quite a nice way to round it off. Anyone got anything else to add? No. Right. Okay. Well, that was play 7. Which, I thoroughly enjoyed, I have to say. We now move on to play 8, which is the Vintner's play. Are we going to get a lot of wine references? I do hope so. But the story moves on. We go from the shepherds, we pan out, and we zoom across to a different part of the action, where we've got the 3 kings coming in: Primus Rex, Secundus Rex, and Tertius Rex. And as always, although there was a bit of weirdness in the previous play with the second and third, and well, all 3 of the shepherds like swapping around, but I think that was probably a textual error rather than anything else. But as usual in these schematics, we start with Primus Rex.
Mighty God in majesty that rules the people of Judea, when thou one man wilt have mercy and his sins forby, send some tokening Lord to me, the like star that we may see, that Balaam said should rise and be in his prophecy. For well I wot, forsooth I wis, that his prophecy sooth is. A star should rise, betokening of bliss, when God's Son is born. Therefore these lords and I in fear, in this mount make our prayer, devoutly once in the year, for thereto we have been sworn.
I just Yea, we that have been of Balaam's blood, that prophesied of that sweet food, when Balak that was king so wooed to curse would he have made God's people of Israel. But power failed him every deal to prophesy mankind's heel. that time hap he had. Therefore we kings of his kind, I read we take his words in mind. Grace to him, if we may find that God's son shall be. And go we pray, both one and all, into the Mount Victorial. Peradventure, such grace may fall, that star that we may see.
Sir, sickerly I read on right, unto that hill I will me dight, and there beseech God Almight on us for to have mind, and of that star to have a sight. Worship we all that sweet white, that Balaam to us be hight, that shall forby mankind. Say, fellow, take this corsair, and abide me right here. Go we, sirs, to our prayer. I read now in good fay. I have done this many a year, and my ancestors that before me were. High God, Prince of Power, thou comfort us today.
And stage direction, they get off their horses and go to the mountain.
Lord, what time is thy will, Balaam's prophecy to fulfill? Give thou us grace, both loud and still, and by some sign us show.
Yea, Lord, though we be unworthy, on thy men thou have mercy, and of thy birth thou certify here to thy knights free.
Lord God, leader of Israel, that die would for mankind's heal, thou come to us, and not conceal, but be our counselor.
All this world thou art the wheel, that shall be called Emmanuel. Deem the Lord with us to deal, and grant us our prayer.
And we have a stage direction in Latin, but there's a helpful gloss. Tunc apparabit stella, which apparently means a star appears.
Ah, Soroy, s'il vous plaît, gardez sur votre test.
Une étoile ici est que se vous repliez. I have no idea.
À Lois in semblant d'une verge pourtant, comme le semble d'une enfant, embrasse à portement.
Our Lord, blessed most thou be, that on thy pity hast pity. Wittily now witten we, what that wrought is our asking.
But our prayer heard has he. I leave full well by my lute key. For in the star a child I see, and very tokening.
Lords, I read we hidden high, for I dare say, and nothing lie, fulfilled is Balaam's prophecy. By this we may well know.
And the stage direction says they kneel. And I'm just going to pause there briefly because there was a bit of consternation when we read play 6, the Rights play, because it featured the Roman emperor, who no one was expecting, frankly, and he spoke in a sort of weird old French dialect at one point. He started in English and then he kind of suddenly went into French and then he suddenly went out of it. And we were saying at the time that this was a bit random and we hadn't come across it before. And then lo, here it is again. So I think it was Lynn who had the thought in the play 6 session that maybe the French was there, or was it you, Alan? I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry. Somebody had the good thought that maybe the French was there to demarcate a higher status character. And that seems to be the case here as well, you know, because we've got kings here and they suddenly quite nonchalantly go into French and then they come back into English. Anyone got anything they want to say about that before we move on? Lois?
I think we both kind of had that notion that we wanted a prestige language, and this was the closest they could come up with. Still, it's very odd that they would pick some dialect of French, whether it's Norman French or old or early modern French or whatever, in this geographic location, because it's so far from London, right?
Yeah,
it's far from London. It's far from the French, the Channel. So it's very odd.
Yeah, it's Latin. It is. Yeah, Lois.
Well, yes, it's funny because I'd always assumed that the use of French was to signify that somebody was wicked because there's so much anti-French feeling. But of course, French was also spoken by the upper classes. And I think Richard II's court was the first one in which English was spoken. Not surprising since it's also the age of Chaucer. So I really don't know. I mean, it seems very odd to me that they go into French here. I mean, it seems to me to be contemporary French. I mean, I can more or less understand it. And if you, I mean, the first one I think is King, if you please, keep something on your head, a star, une étoile ici, a star is here, you know. And the next bit about, you know, bearing a virgin bearing a child, as it seems, and you know, embrasse appartement. I mean, it's more or less what you'd be expecting them to say, but I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know if there is any theory about why they go into French.
Yeah, well, maybe it is because it's more courtly, more high status. Or Alan had a theory yesterday that there was a link between Chester and you know the French court, although we're going back a few hundred years to William the Conqueror there. But who knows? But anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting to flag up. Let's continue. The kings have kneeled, and we have the entrance of the angel with a star.
Yea, lest this be some fantasy, yet pray we all especially, for if he be born verily, more signs he will us show.
Rise up, ye kings three, and come anon after me into the land of Judea as fast as you may hie. The child you seek there you shall see, born all of a maiden free, that king of heaven and earth shall be, and all mankind forby.
Here the kings rise up.
Lord, hie we hither and anon. Now we been bidden thither gone. I will never abide by my bone till I at him be.
Yea, sirs, I read us everyone, dromedaries to ride upon, for swifter beasts there be none. One I have, you shall see.
Dromedary in good fay will go lightly on his way, 100 miles upon a day. Such coursers now take we.
Lords, and I leave well may, that child would shorten well our way, that bringeth presents to his pay, and most is of degree.
And we have a stage direction, then go down to the beasts and ride about.
Alas, where is this starry went? A light from us away is glent. What I know where we be lent, nor whitherward lies our way.
Pray we to God with good intent, to whom we bring our present. He will never suffer us to be shent, that dare I boldly say.
It is good that we inquire if any the way can us lair. Say, bel ami that rides here, tell us some tiding.
Sir, tell me what your will were.
Can thou say aught, what place or where a child is born that crown shall bear, and of Jews be the king?
We see the star shine very in the east in noble array. Therefore we come now this way to worship him with wind.
Hold your peace, sirs, I you pray, for if King Herod heard you so say, he would go wooed by my fame, fly out of his skin.
And if the king is so near, go we to him in all manner.
Ye may well see he wants here a palace in to dwell, but may he wot withouten word that any is born of more power. You bring yourselves in great danger, such tidings for to tell.
And here the messenger must go to the king, Herod, and also here minstrels must play. But before we go off to meet Herod, let's just pause to take in these dromedaries. Do you know, were they donkeys with papier-mâché humps on their backs? I'm thinking they might have been, because at first I was thinking, oh, okay, the painters should have been doing this, because you know they could have done cutouts and big painted illustrations of the dromedaries. But then it actually says in the stage directions they go down to the beasts and ride about. What were they riding on? Anyone got any thoughts, Greg?
all I'm going to say is, based on medieval manuscripts, I dread to think what these dromedaries look like.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea. Right?
That looks a lot like Harry's cow.
Hmm.
Have you ever seen a camel before, Painter? No, but you know.
They're not just any old camels as well. They're dromedaries. I mean, you know, this is exotic stuff. But yeah, maybe they had a few hanging around. I don't know. Lois.
In the Oberammergau Passion play, which I saw last summer, they did have what looked like camels on the stage. I mean, I don't know if they were very skillfully made up horses, but it'd be really quite risky to try this sort of thing with a horse. But I suppose with a camel, they might be able to manage. I mean, with a cow or a donkey, they might be able to manage it.
Yeah. I have no idea, but I love the fact that they get down and ride about on these beasts, and you know.
Of course, the other possibility is a pantomime camel. I mean, two guys and that's probably safer, actually.
Let's go with that, because I love that idea. Yeah. But I feel the painters should have been doing this, like, you know, but I guess maybe the vintners could afford to hire someone to make really cool costumes, maybe.
Maybe they got this idea after drinking quite a lot of wine.
Yeah,
Why don't we bring some dromedary things on the stage? What a great idea.
That seems entirely likely.
It'll be fine. Everyone will be drunk by this point. They'll just pass Bob's pub. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Eric.
I was going to say that it's interesting, like, because in my head, this was just like a stationary cart type, like a pageant type thing. But then, because they're moving around, not just from one play to the next, but also within a play. So, like, you know, like in the previous one, we had from Bethlehem from wherever the shepherds were to Bethlehem. So, this one, we're actually about to meet Herod as well. It makes me wonder if this is more like a promenade type setup rather than an actual, like, because like you'd need a very big stage for this to happen, I think, unless you kind of move things very quickly, like sort of like shadow puppetry or something. I don't know. But
yeah. I mean, again, referring back to play 6, there was all sorts of toing and froing in that one. We had multiple locations, and it does make you wonder, did they have several stationary wagons and they kind of hopped from one to the other, or did they just do it all on one and they did it with, you know, like scenery changes? Here we have a stick representing a tree, here we have a cutout of a palace when we get to Herod. I don't know. Lois, do you know?
No, I don't, but this seems more like a big arena, actually, with different sets, you know, minimal sets, rather like, you know, the Castle of Perseverance or something like that. I mean, the fact that it calls for minstrels to play while the messenger is going from one place to another, you know, suggests that it's going to take a while to get there. It's kind of covering the action. So I would imagine, I don't know whether the audience is also moving to follow the actors.
Yeah, they could be. Makes the whole thing a lot more dynamic if they are. Alan.
I think when we discussed this, when we did the podcast version, I think the consensus was that basically this will be done in a sort of marketplace type environment. And you've got probably 3 acting areas. You've probably got 2 pageant wagons. In this context, you've got one for the stable, another one for Herod's palace, for example. And then they are using the area of the marketplace, walking among the audience, you know, with this putative pantomime camel or whatever else they're choosing to use to process with. And obviously you could have minstrels either up on the carts or down in the crowd.
That makes total sense. And I mean, that would create the arena type effect that Lois was suggesting. So yeah, let's go with that. Anyway, the minstrels have played. The Explorator has gone, like, rushed over to the next playing area, and he now addresses Herod.
"O noble king and worthy conqueror, crowned in gold, sitting on high, Mahound thee save, long in honor. License I require to speak to thee. Tidings now, my lord, I shall you tell that these three kings do show unto me. From whence they've been, I know not well. Yonder they stand, you may see.
De roi real et reverend, de bugard omnipotent.
Nos sumus venu coinopon nouvelle de unqueer.
And once again, we've got into, I'm not sure what that is, whether that's French or Latin or a weird hybrid.
French.
It's French, is it? Right. Okay. But I presumably because they're addressing Herod, but I've paused because there's a stage direction and it just says staff. I don't know if this is a staff that either the Secundus Rex or Herod is waving in the air, or whether it means something else entirely. But anyway, staff.
Venez souvenir, Regent. Me dites vestre entendre.
Enfant Keramus de grands-parents et roi de ciel et terre.
Sirs, advise you what you say. And such tidings makes my heart unfain. I read you take those words again for fear of villainy. That is done so great that made a gain to take my realm and to attain my power. But he shall have pain and punished apertly. I, King of Kings, none so keen, thy sovereign sire, as well is seen. I, tyrants that make both take and teen, castle, tower, and town. I weld this world without and ween. I beat all those and bucks and bean. I drive the devils all by deen deep in hell adown. For I am king of all mankind. I bid, I beat, I loose, I bind. I master the moon. Take this in mind, that I am most of might. I am the greatest above all degree that is or was or ever shall be. The sun it dare not shine on me, and I bid him go down. No rain to fall shall none be free, nor no lord have that liberty that dare abide. And I bid flee, but I shall crack his crown. Nor far nor near that doth me noy, who wraths me I shall destroy. For every freak I dare defy, that nil be pain that please. But you be bane, I shall you beat. There is no man for you shall treat. Or for wrath, see how I sweat. My heart is not at ease.
And there's another stage direction that once again says staff, so we know whose staff is being waved around now.
It might be a staff of music.
Oh,
For
could be.
all men may watch and see, but he and you all three, that I am King of Galilee, whatsoever he saith or does.
And there's a stage direction sword. So we've got a staff and a sword.
Yeah.
What the devil should this be? A boy, a groom of low degree, should reign above my royalty and make me but a goose?
And he casts up his sword.
That rings o reign so royally, O grace and goodness I have to give, that there is no prince, but here he shall ply to do my heart's ease. But now you may both hear and see that I reckoned up my royalty. I read you all be ruled by me, and found for me for to please.
Sir, we see the star appear in the east without and we're in a marvellous manner, together as we can pray.
We never see none so clear. By it the way we could lear. And when we came to your land here, then vanished it away.
By prophecy well wotten we that a child born should be, to rule the people of Judea, as was said many a year.
That is false by my Luti, for in Morgan of you all three, this realm moves all of me. Other kings shall none be here. But sith you speak of prophecy, I will wit anon in high, whether ye say sooth or lie. My clerk soon shall say, Sir, Doctor, that chief art of the clergy, look up the books of prophecy of Daniel, David, and Isaiah, and what thou seest, say thou to me. These kings be coming afar away to seek a child, I heard them say, that should be born in this country, my kingdom to destroy. Seek each leaf, I thee pray. What thou finds in good faith, turn thou here, for I dare lay that all these lords lie.
We're just going to stop there for a moment, mainly to give Greg time to catch his breath. Well, that was quite a reception that the King's got there. I'm fascinated by all these little stage directions about this staff and the sword. Is he waving them around? Like, what? It's. You can imagine them being slightly taken aback by this welcome of Herod's that they get. Eric.
Well, traditionally, like there is always a scepter of power, so I'm assuming that there is kind of like,
That would be the
he would be
staff, I
like,
guess.
I am the king.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
He's very much, I mean, you were saying it in the chat, but he's very much a pantomime villain, isn't he? I mean, to be fair, that is the way Greg is playing him. but it is there. It is there in the text, I think. Yeah, Greg.
I was going to say, I don't think you can play him in any other way. He is. I mean, we were saying this yesterday against the Augustus bit. He is pure evil, and he always is. I mean, to be fair, what he orders, spoilers, at the end of the play, or whatever he orders it in this version, probably about 3 lines from the end in about one word. He is nasty. He is the pure pantomime Damon. Yeah. And yes, I am doing Brian Blessed mixed with dialects, but I just thought, do you know what? If you're going to do it, you go for it properly with him. Because actually, if you've got somebody in the audience who doesn't know the story or doesn't know it too well, what's an easy way of marking it? It's like the 3 Once Upon a Time. As soon as you hear those words, or as soon as you hear somebody with a rather booming voice, they're not going to be very nice.
Yeah.
And it's a trope that you'll get through the stories. I'm sure that in these versions of the Bible, there were various people that probably had such Pontius Pilate probably being one of them, though he's not quite so bad as Herod, but that sense of evil running through Caiaphas, etc. Yeah,
absolutely. And no, it is. You're absolutely right. It's all there in the text, and the absolute thing to do is to lean into it. As you were doing rather marvelously. Eric, you had your hand up.
Yeah. I mean, like Herod is in all these mystery cycles. We've seen him as a pantomime villain and stuff, like sort of. But I think the worst one was kind of when he orders, slaughter of children, spoilers, and so on and so forth. But like you get in some versions, you get like soldiers turning up with spears with children on them, and you're like, okay, this is graphic. And yeah, this is an interesting version so far. He's like, tell me what the prophecy is. I need to make sure, just in case, before we do anything.
Yeah, I have a feeling this version. I don't know, because I haven't read ahead. I don't know if we're going to get to the slaughter of the massacre of the innocents in this version, but I have a feeling if we do, it's not going to be pretty. Greg.
The worst thing is that what he's saying is go and look at the book's prophecy, but the book's prophecy are going to say what he doesn't want to hear. Unless I'm going completely mad, he's saying, bring me the books in that wonderful way. And then you're thinking, but to those who know, you're going, and they're only going to prove you right.
Yeah, I have a feeling this doctor might have a red shirt on.
Or is that his way of justifying the innocence? Anyway, sorry, it's just that sort of, is it that he hears the prophecy is right, so that then makes him think he's going to do something about it?
Maybe we shall find out. He's asked for a doctor who I don't think he's a medical doctor. He's Lois, you wanted to say something.
I was just going to say this bit is actually biblical. I mean, in the Bible, Herod does ask for the various doctors to consult the scriptures.
Yeah, doctor meaning teacher.
Yes, right? Exactly. Yes, we have. So we have the doctor who presumably has consulted the books, and that's me. I'm playing the doctor. So he says, "Nay, my lord, be you bold. I trow no prophets before would write anything your heart to could, or your right to deny. But sith your grace at this time would that I, the prophets, declare should of Christ's coming, as they have told, the truth to certify, I beseech your royal majesty with patience of your benignity to hear the truth, and pardon me, their sayings to declare.
Nay, my true clerk, there will not I debate with thee, therefore in high. Look well on every prophecy, for nothing that thou spare. But search the truth of Esau, Ezekiel, Nahum, and Jeremiah, Micaiah, Abdias, and Zachary of Christ, what they do say. Look also upon Malachi, Aggeus, Ossius, and Sophoni, Joel, Amos, and Habakkuk in high. Look who'd be left away.
The Holy Scripture maketh declaration by patriarchs and prophets of Christ's nativity, when Jacob prophesied by plain demonstration, set the realms of Judah and eke the regality from that generation should never taken be, till he were comen, which most mighty is, sent from the Father, King of heavenly bliss. And now fulfilled is Jacob's prophecy, for King Herod, that is now reigning, is no Jew born, nay of that progeny, but a stranger by the Romans made their king. And the Jews know none of their blood descending by succession to claim the sceptre and regality, wherefore Christ is now born our King and Messiah.
That is false, by Mahmud, full of might. That old Vidar Jacob doted for age, and shall withhold by no prophecy the title and right of Romans' high conquest, which to me in heritage is foreign forever as prince of high parentage. If any other king or Messiah intended to win his head from his body with this sharp sword shall I twin.
That Daniel, fulfilled with heavenly grace, prophesied also by divine inspiration that when he was come, that of all holy was the most holiest in earth to take his habitation in the womb of a virgin, and by his blessed incarnation out of Satan's band to deliver mankind, whom sin original most piteously did bind. Then both unctions, sacrifices, and rites ceremonial of the Old Testament with legal observation shall utterly cease, and take their end final through Christ's coming, which for man's salvation a New Testament should ordain by divine operation, offering himself in sacrifice for mankind's offence, which from heaven was exiled through his great negligence.
Why on that dream reader? Such dotards never shall, they no sleepy sluggard make my right title cease. But I shall nightly keep it whatsoever shall befall against that young gedling. And if he wants to press this kingdom to claim, or put me to distress, his head off shall I hew. Yet look if thou find there where this boy is born for whom these kings inquire.
Michias, inflamed with ghostly inspiration, prophesied that Bethlehem should a child bring forth ruler of God's people and of the Jews' nation, should he be born of Israel to be king. Also, Essay and Jeremy, full virtuous of being, with many other mo fulfilled with grace of Christ's coming, prophesied while their living was. Essay unto the spirit of prophecy was singularly given through the Holy Ghost. In his time prophesied that kings wittily and folks of strange nations and from sundry coasts, that princes deaf to magnify, which of might is most, should walk in great light, and brightness should appear, as did unto those kings in a bright star shining clear.
Alas, what presumption should move that peevish page on an elvish gelding to take from me my crown?
He casts down the sword.
Oh, yes, stage directions. He cast down the sword. Thank you, Eric.
But my Mahmoud, that boy, for all his great outrage, shall die under my hand, that elf and vile Cajun, and by all his partakers I shall slay and beat down, and both of him and his final destruction make such vengeance, and eat cruelty on them will I take. That none such a slaughter was seen or heard before, sith Athalia here reigned, that fell and furious queen, which made slay all men children that of king's blood were born when her son was dead. So for to wreak my teen, I shall hew that young harlot with my bright brand so keen into pieces small. Yet look and search again if these kings shall if these kings shall him find in his presence attain.
David, of all prophets, called the most prepotent, prophesies that kings of Garcius and Araby with mystical gifts shall come and present that Lord, that King, and I, Messiah, of Abraham's seed descended lineally, which kings with great treasure here in presence to seek him as sovereign and laud his magnificence. My lord, my prophecy is proved you beforn, that in Bethlehem should be born a child to save that was forlorn, and all Israel.
By cock's soul, I will swore, have done. These books were rent and torn, for he shall be no king crowned, but I fully in my will. What a devil is this to say, that I should be disproved and put away, since my rights is so very for a boy's boast? This realm is mine, and shall be manfully maintain it while I may, though he be bring with him today the devil and all his host.
And we have a stage direction. It says cast up, and in fact it's the second stage direction we've had of cast up, but I missed the last one because I was just too terrified. Apologies for that.
But go ye first, you kings three, and inquire if it be so. But Arrogance comes again by me for you, I think, to feed. And if he be of such degree, him will I honour, as done ye as fools for his dignity, in word, thought, and deed.
I believe, sir, and have good day, till we come again this way.
Sir, as soon as ever we may, and as we seem, so shall we say.
And of his riches and his array, from you we shall not lane.
Farewell, lords in good fame, but are you fast again?
And we have a stage direction. Herod calls for a drink from a boy, some random boy, when the kings are gone.
Alas, what devil is this? For shame almost I fare amiss, for was I never so woe awis? For wrath I am near wood, for every man may well say thus, that I maintain my realm amiss, to let a boy inherit my bliss, that never was of my blood.
We have another staff stage direction.
But yet the less it grieves me that I let go those kings three, for I shall know now which is he when they come again. Then, when will they tell me what country that this boy born is he, then shall be taken both he and they, and that will make me fain.
And we have another sword stage direction.
By cock, so come they again, all three traitors shall be slain, and that like sweddling swain I shall swap off his head.
And a chop.
Sorry. God's grace shall them not gain, nor a prophecy save them from pain, that rocket revolt, and I may reign, ruefully shall be his reed. My Mahmoud full of might, tomorrow I will send after my knights to rule my right against this boy's boast, and raise this country on every side, all that ever may go aright. So shall this boy lose his pride for all his great host. This boy doth make me so greatly annoyed that I wax dry. Down and fell the wine in high, I die, but I have drink. Fill fast and let the cups fly. We go heathen hastily, but I must ordain curiously against these kings coming.
And with that, the play ends, and we leave Herod to chew up the scenery and drink his wine. I'm so glad the vintners managed to get their wine in there, though I'm not entirely sure Herod is the best advert for it. Although, having said that, probably the entire audience needs a bit of wine after watching that. That is proper terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose, depending on the choices that the actor made, the performer made on the day, you could play it for laughs, absolutely. But I don't know, especially if I was a kid in the audience, I think I would have been proper terrified by that. He's a very angry man. Very, very angry. I did like the fact that Eric put in the chat, maybe the staff and the sword are his coping mechanisms.
Or his what?
His coping mechanisms.
Oh, yeah. But
yeah,
there is something, even though like throwing things is really childish, it's like a toddler. There's something really terrifying about a grown man who doesn't moderate his own emotions skillfully enough that he's throwing things. There's something really very dangerous about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. And I mean, it is really physical, and you could do all kinds of stuff with this. I think you could have him, obviously he's throwing stuff about, but you could have him charging up and down as well. You could have him, pushing people over. You could have him leaping off the wagon and getting right into the faces of the audience. I could just imagine that the three kings just sort of quietly back out of the room, just sort of sidle out, like, yeah, we're just gonna go now. Just yeah. Greg.
I'm gonna have to make a move once I've said this. Sorry, I find it interesting. I've just jumped a little bit down, so I'm not here tomorrow. It's actually interesting they split the Herod's plays. This actually isn't his. I thought this would be his only appearance, but actually he comes back tomorrow, and I give the gift of that role to whoever it is tomorrow, and have a huge amount of fun. Don't be afraid to overdo it. Going back to what you said about the attendants disappearing, I think they do. By that last part of that speech, and my God, he's gone hell for leather. I realised I hadn't left any room to go any further than I had, but actually I don't think you need to. I think there is almost a point where he breaks. And actually maybe that's quite a good thing for the next play, I don't know, and it'll be interesting to see how the Herod part 2 works. Because I think he is almost on his own at that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He lost it.
Yeah.
I'm sure the doctor has done a runner as soon as he's done his speech.
Yeah.
I can almost imagine that he just doesn't even look back and just goes woof off stage and I love the way that and I don't know if it's I always find it interesting the way they spell the old prophets' names. Because there are times when, especially when I said them, I was going, who the hell is that meant to be?
Yes, I think Esau was Esau, wasn't it?
I want to correct them. There were a couple in there that weren't Old Testament. I think there was a couple of other Middle Eastern mystics or something that made. No, I think Herod is and I can just see it being given to the most upstart, annoying person, the person who's always at the committee meeting shouting their heads off. The one in the one I can't remember what the name of the committee meeting was, the famous one that was on Zoom. I can just imagine it being the one who sort of said, "Oh, you've got no place here."
Yes.
That's who I can imagine it being, modern day Herod.
You have no authority here, Jackie, whatever her name was.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I also going to say, I was building up, and that's the reason I built up, because I thought I'm going to end up saying the Massacre of the Innocents, but I don't.
No.
And it's really interesting that I thought, oh my God, if it is going to appear, it's going to appear in the last 5 lines. and it doesn't. But no, brilliant. Enjoy Herod, whoever gets Herod. It's a wonderful part.
Lois, bye,
Well,
Craig.
this is just about the names of the prophets. I think Isaiah is actually Isaiah.
Oh, right.
Esau isn't
Yeah.
a prophet. And I think some of the other names, I mean, I haven't really gone through it in detail, but there is this whole set of apocryphal books of the Bible. I mean, they're not accepted into the Protestant tradition, but I think they still appear in some Bibles that include the Apocrypha. And I think a lot of those characters would be represented there.
Yeah, no, probably. Yeah, I mean, you know far more than I do about biblical personages, so I'll take your word for it. I did like Lynn's point about the terrifying aspect of a grown man having a proper tantrum, because he really is, isn't he? He's having a temper tantrum. I mean, Greg's gone now, but what he was saying about how he didn't build up to it, I feel is entirely justified, because it's not there is no journey for him in the text. He starts off having a temper tantrum and it just goes on and on and on. It's like this wall anger. And I think it's actually, normally you'd expect something like that to just be too much, too much of the same thing for too long. But I think in this context, it actually works really well. Eric, did I see a hand there?
I don't know. Did I raise it without realizing? No, I just like the stage directions as well. Just like, because it tells you sort of what you can imagine him pacing with a sword, probably not a fake sword, but like I'm guessing, it has like sort of maybe some sort of what's called I don't know what this reminded me of. Basically was this scene in Black Books where there's a really angry customer who doesn't want to be influenced by the bookseller and just sort of goes, "You will not change my opinion one iota," sort of. And on the other end of it you see Bill Bailey's hair just being blown back, which is just hilarious. I imagine that's what the Doctor is.
Yes, the Doctor is being blasted off the stage. We're coming into final thoughts now. Lois, you had something to say.
Well, I can make this a final thought. In fact, I mean, as you're saying, Herod is all pretty much on one note from beginning to end, and presumably what puts the variety in it is whatever he's doing with that sword and staff, which could be quite elaborate. I mean, he could be tossing them up in the air and catching them, or doing some sort of maneuvers with them, and that presumably breaks up the speech. And that would be one more reason why it was the bravura role that you gave the star actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Lynn, do you have any final thoughts?
It always interests me in this genre, in the mystery play genre, how much of the text is non-scriptural. The most famous in this category is the Second Shepherd's play with Max the Sheep Stealer and stuff like that. That is like the nativity is like B-plot. It's hard. It's and that happened also. And that's kind of what's going on here. So much of the story is devoted to what they're having for lunch, and there's this sort of like hyper masculine. We have to fight each other because that's how we show that we're friends, is we wrestle, and like all this sort of atmospheric stuff and the details of their shepherding practices and tarring the wounds on the sheep and stuff like that. Oh, and then by the way, the savior of the world was born. And as fun as Herod is to play, and maybe even fun to witness as an audience member, it doesn't really move the biblical story forward. He was a bad man and had anger management problems, but the slaughter of the innocents and the flight into Egypt is the point. That's the scriptural narrative that we are supposedly enacting here, and and we go on and on and on before that even happens.
Well, yeah, I mean the three kings haven't even got to see Christ yet. They haven't done that.
That happened off stage or something. It's just interesting that one of the sort of conventional things to say about this is how ordinary people who couldn't read, or certainly couldn't read Latin, learned the narrative, learned the story. From the Old Testament to the New Testament in like supposedly one line redemption narrative. This is how they learned their doctrine, and so much of it has nothing to do with doctrine or the scriptural story.
It's true, but it makes for really good drama and comedy. Alan, your final thoughts, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's been enjoyable. I think following on from what Lynn was saying there, what you've got is a situation that there are the separate episodes in what we now regard as the standard biblical narrative of the kings visiting Herod, then going to Bethlehem, and then, spoiler alert, diverting on the way home because of divine inspiration. So there is a logical split with it, and where this play has ended is a logical point at which to terminate that episode. What gets me is again, we've got another different rhyme scheme in this play to what we had in the previous one, which was in itself quite different from play 6. So all of these have evolved in subtly different directions. But there's certainly a heck of a lot of energy in the whole thing.
Yes, and different energies. These two plays that we've done today, they have very different energies. Both of them have great characterizations, lots of color, lots of fun, lots of chances for acting or overacting, depending on what you want to do with it. But they do have very different energies, very different tones, and I think both of them achieve what they set out to do with some success, or certainly could be staged successfully. Eric, did you? I've chatted to you already, but did you have any final thoughts to throw in?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by, like, obviously you can go over the top with Herod, and but there's a part of me going, what happens if you just play it straight? Because that would become very terrifying, even more terrifying, like sort of quietly dangerous. Like, rather than having the sort of fits. I don't know. I guess you could do both. Like, sort of, as Greg said, if you need to give yourself somewhere to go. So kind of. And I seem to remember
quietly menacing.
Yeah. I can't remember where we talked about this, but it's kind of that thing of like, what is the character doing before he comes on stage as well? Like, is he pacing up and down? Is he just like sort of I don't know, looking at maps, going, where the hell is this kid? Is he just looking at like archives? Is he hacking into the internet? What is going on? I mean, obviously he wouldn't,
sharpening his sword.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like terrifying, and just kind of, it's also interesting how they've given him all that space to be terrifying. So it's kind of like, as Greg said, in the next play, we kind of have the three kings visiting Bethlehem and finding the kid and so on, and finding Jesus and that kind of thing. So it kind of, I don't know, it's interesting how they swing from like whoever wrote the plays, or plural, singular or plural writer or writers, like sort of went from this like really sort of community sort of feel of like, yeah, we're gonna mention the angels in passing, and like sort of Joseph is kind of laughable as always, and then we get like the sort of shepherds who are laughable as well. They're like people that the crowd would know, like, because obviously they would know how to be shepherds, they would know what they do, that kind of thing. And then you get all the focus moves from that to Herod and having his big like fit about this baby who we've only seen in one scene, basically.
Yeah, no, it's really, it's really quite interesting, and I am going to be interested when we do the next mystery play session, because yes, folks, there is more to come. Plays 9 and 10 will be winging their way to you in due course. It'll be interesting to see if Herod's characterization changes, whether it picks up where it left off. I have a feeling it'll change, just because, all of these plays have their own individual stamp. But yeah, it will be intriguing to see how he comes out next time. Talking of which, that brings us to the end of this session. So yeah, join us again next time to find out what happens next in this story that nobody knows at all already. All that remains is for me to thank all the readers for their wonderful reading and commentary today. Thank you very much for joining us. See you again next time.